This video has been brought to you by the generous channel members and lads over at Patreon. Thank you all for supporting me and my content. Today, we are living in a transformative digital age, as in just in the span of a few decades, technology and digitalization has expanded like never before on an unprecedented level. Devices such as smartphones, tablets, computers, laptops have woven themselves into the fabric of our daily lives, kind of like becoming an extension of ourselves that we carry with us wherever we go. Undeniably, the technological and digital revolution has brought many positive things to our society, like the spread of information on the World Wide Web, digital banking, tools that can help businesses, and the list goes on. But despite all of these positive impacts, the digital age has also had many negative impacts on humanity as a whole. One specific industry that managed to flourish and become so powerful due to the digital age is the pornography industry. Websites like Pornhub, Xvideos, Xhamster, and thousands more. Of course, pornography has existed before, even going back thousands of years ago. But the screens that we hold in our hands and use, like the one you are using to watch this video, are open windows to a world of explicit content, instantly and easily accessible in just a few seconds. And it is exactly because this type of content has become so much more easily accessible to humans that the global industry saw its potential and are pushing to exploit it to the fullest extent possible, offering content that was almost non-existent many decades ago. Pornography, as you might guess, can be very bad for your mental health. From a psychological standpoint, our brains are wired to seek novelty and pleasure, which eventually leads us all to go down this quote-unquote exploration rabbit hole when we arrive at a certain age. But the truth is, the pornography industry is much more evil and sinister than you have ever thought. In fact, I would even go as far as to say that the majority of the global deterioration of mental health and general loneliness can be blamed on this industry, and they are all more than happy to manipulate and let human society go downhill to the lowest points if it means they will squeeze the most money out of it. This video has been done in cooperation with several amazing people who have agreed to help me in writing the script. The primary source for this video will be coming from their amazingly researched document on the impacts of pornography, drawing from many sources and studies which will be used. So if you want to learn and check out the true extent of the impact of pornography on society, I highly encourage you to take a look at the document yourself. I will leave the link to it down in the description. But first, we need to answer the question, why exactly are humans so attracted to sexual pleasure, and how has it evolved throughout history? Every living creature on Earth, whether human or not, has the natural instinct to want to reproduce with the opposite gender, and sex is supposed to be just that, a process in which animals can reproduce so their species doesn't die out. And as many of you know, the biggest highlight of this process is the pleasure we feel. Both men and women will feel pleasure when they are reproducing, and this is mainly because of dopamine. For those who are not aware, dopamine is the chemical that gets released in our brains whenever we are doing something pleasurable, like for example eating, playing video games, talking, and yes, even sex. And here, dopamine is important because animals need it to even want to reproduce in the first place. If sex caused pain instead of pleasure, not as many people would be inclined to try it out. But we humans, compared to other animals, have evolved in such a way to innovate, think and build, advancing our minds to always test the boundaries of what is possible and what is not. And this also includes dopamine as well. Because humans in the past and the present have had access to everything they wanted at any time, it is easy for them to overdo and have dopamine problems. And this is why addictions exist. All addictions are due to people not being able to control their dopamine. They always crave for this short-term dopamine hit whenever they feel like it. And this craving for the effects of dopamine is so strong that many people have a hard time to overcome those addictions, and some not even being able to overcome them at all due to their weak willpower. And yes, this also goes for sexual acts as well. Especially that. Since sex can grant such a big dopamine hit to our brains, humans have started thinking of new ways they could pleasure themselves, and have started establishing quote-unquote beauty standards. Now, I want to ask you a simple question, specifically to my male audience. I think the majority of us can agree that boobs are attractive, but what exactly makes them attractive in the first place? Like, what is inherently and objectively beautiful about them? That's the thing, almost none of us can give an exact answer to that one. We recognize boobs as attractive, yet we don't know why we find them as such. Truth is, what we see as attractive and not attractive is purely up to the environment around us and what it teaches us about attractiveness. The best example I can give of this is ancient Greece, where having a small penis was seen as ideal beauty, and having a big penis was seen as unattractive. And this is why many ancient Greek statues have small penises, because again, having a small penis at that time was seen as beautiful. But today it is the exact opposite. A big penis is seen as sexy and beautiful, while a small one is something to laugh at. This attraction and what determines which body part is beautiful or not is inherently environmental, not natural. What does this have to do with pornography? Since pornography influences the way you see sex, despite its primary purpose being reproduction, pornography can open the door to really twisted ways to see sex, like it only being for pleasure and nothing else. According to a study, 44% of boys aged 11 to 16 who consumed porn report that it gave them ideas about the type of sex they wanted to try. Worst of all, there are those truly degenerate sides of pornography, like BDSM and God knows the amount of disgusting and abhorrent kinks. But according to another study, 46.9% of respondents reported that over time, they began watching pornography that had previously disinterested or even disgusted them. Those little baby steps of first discovering pornography will lead you down a horrible rabbit hole that twists your perception of sex, even in the end finding interest in very degenerate and disgusting acts. And the pornography industry is working on exploiting this to the maximal effect. Websites like Pornhub, Xvideos all have a variety of different types of pornography, whether they are normal or horrifying, and the moment these other types start interesting you, it will lead to a rabbit hole where your brain will become more and more degenerate as your view of sex changes forever, and it starts influencing your personal life. In the recent years, there has been a push by several media companies claiming that pornography can be very healthy for a person, not only for their personal life, but their relationship and sex life overall. Obviously, this is nothing more than an attempt to get people more hooked on pornography, and to calm the fears of people who are looking to quit it. And of course, this is all complete nonsense. Pornography is not only harmful to an individual, but society as a whole. The reason why there are so many claims about how good porn is for us is because the porn industry is deliberately bribing media companies to write these articles, and has also been involved in attacking anti-porn sentiment as well. For example, the psychologist David Ley, who previously wrote over 30 articles attacking NoFap and other things, collaborated with the website XHamster to promote their website, and even tried pushing the narrative that porn and sex addictions are not real. Let's start off with the physical consequences of watching pornography. Believe it or not, frequent watching of pornography and masturbation is directly linked to prostate cancer, and researchers have shown that people who have ejaculated at an early age and those with the habit of masturbation are much more likely to have prostate cancer. But I hear you saying, the media has been saying how masturbation can actually reduce the chances of prostate cancer. This is a complete and utter lie. Scientists have already debunked the claim of masturbation reducing prostate cancer. The study you will most often see in the media that is used for the claim of prostate cancer somehow being reduced by 20% does not even show that in the first place. What the study actually showed was that frequent ejaculation generally decreased the risk of prostate cancer, but the study didn't examine the outcomes of masturbation specifically, but all ejaculations. It did not differentiate between ejaculation after masturbation or sex, so the study isn't even about masturbation specifically. But objectively, it is the mental health impact pornography has which makes it so destructive. A study from the journal Applied Research in Quality of Life, written by several researchers, shows just how much of a significant impact pornography has on the mood of a person, specifically depression and life satisfaction. The study found that, quote, "A higher level of exposure to online pornography is associated with depressive symptoms, lower levels of life satisfaction, and higher levels of sexually permissive attitudes." The study found that pornography use has a negative effect on mental health and life satisfaction, i.e. causing depression. And worst of all, another study at the National Library of Medicine found that depressive symptoms are linked with a greater desire for masturbation, meaning the more pornography you watch, the more depressed you will feel, and the more depressed you feel, the more inclined you are to masturbate and watch porn more. It is a horrible cycle that will keep repeating itself over and over. And if we look at the graphs and statistics, we will find a very visible correlation between the reports of mental health issues and the digitalization and easier access to pornography. Since 2005 till 2014, there was an enormous increase of mental health issues by 1,491%. So why, if there are plenty of studies on just how harmful pornography and masturbation can be towards us as individuals, then why are we not hearing about it more but are rather fed tales how it is actually beneficial and completely normal? It is all because the pornography industry wants us to be kept more in the dark about the truth. The industry is very well aware of the harm their content brings to the people on such a massive scale, and they keep pushing it out because of the almighty dollar. This may shock you, but the porn industry brings in more money than the NFL, NBA, and MLB combined. Porn has taken over our society so much that today, porn sites receive more website traffic in the United States than Twitter, Instagram, Netflix, Pinterest, and LinkedIn combined. It is absolutely unbelievable just how widespread pornography actually is without us even knowing. This is exactly what makes the industry one of, if not the most evil in the world, because it inherently exploits and feeds off of people's well-being, both their physical and mental health, turning them into ghouls craving for this ideal girl and body, and in the process destroying their entire love and social lives. All for what? Just to see how those glorious zeros keep adding one after another, and they are not going to stop until they make every last penny in the entire world. Almost every time you visit a porn website, you will be met with the notification we are all familiar with. Are you 18 years old? Because only adults can access this website. And this is understandable. Children being exposed to pornographic and sexual content at a young age can really cause some negative effects on their development before becoming adults. And yet, over the years, the number of children who have watched porn has only increased. A study from 2008 has shown that 14.4% of boys were exposed to porn before the age of 13. A different study with the same goal was conducted in 2011, and this time the results showed that 48.7%, a shocking 30% increase in only 3 years. Again, another study was conducted in 2017, and this time the results turned out to be 69%. To summarize this, In the period between 2008 and 2017, in a span of 9 years, the amount of children who were exposed to porn before the age of 13 went from only 14.4% to a terrible 69%. You would think that with the rapid digitalization happening since 2008, websites would do something to protect their children from their explicit content, like maybe an actual age verifier with an ID card. But no, 15 years later the exact same age verification system has stayed the same, a little box appearing and all it takes is to tap yes I am 18 and you are in. Recently in the United States, some red states, most notably Virginia, started realizing that protecting young children from explicit content is extremely important, which is why Virginia passed a new age verification law that requires users to actually verify their age in order to access online porn. You would think that the porn industry, which is apparently so keen on protecting children from their content, would embrace it and work closely with Virginia, right? Instead, what they did was completely pull out of Virginia in protest. This was a true mask-off moment for Pornhub and other websites. By not being willing to comply with Virginia's age verification laws to protect children, they have shown that they don't really care about children at all. But what is the exact reason? I believe that the main reason why they refuse to comply is because a very good chunk of their viewer base actually consists of children. Porn is regularly watched by 45% of 14-year-olds, and 22% of underage porn viewers are less than 10 years old. Children make up a huge chunk of Pornhub's viewer base, due to the fact that in their age they are a lot more curious and a lot more vulnerable to addictions. So if Pornhub started complying with these new age verification laws, they would lose a huge amount of their viewer base, which means they would be making less money. It has always been about money and not the children. It is actually crucial for the porn industry to get children hooked on porn in the first place. Adolescence is a time of significant hormonal change in children, which leads to heightened sexual curiosity and exploration, and this obviously makes them more attracted towards sexual content. Not to mention that the brain is still developing, specifically the prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain is responsible for decision making, impulse control, and understanding consequences, and this is why the still maturing brain might be more vulnerable to forming addictions. For these reasons, it is much more simple to have children form not just porn addictions, but addictions of any kind. Adults have, in most cases, have had more life experience and have developed better coping strategies and judgment. Children, on the other hand, might not have yet developed the skills to tell the difference between healthy and unhealthy habits to foresee long-term consequences. But it doesn't just end at wanting children to get addicted to porn. Oh no, this rabbit hole goes deeper and even more sinister than you may think. Recently, emails have been publicized that involve the CEO of Pornhub and his executive team. Among some other things in these emails, the CEO has stated that a flagged video should only be reviewed if it received over 15 reports, and plainly stated that there are over 700,000 videos in the backlog that only receive between 1 to 15 flags. And to top it all off, he stated, quote, "It's obvious that we are just trying to hide that it's a minimum number of flags." This means that if a video involves criminal acts, like with children, it will only get reviewed if that video received over 15 reports. What makes it worse is that the CEO also confirmed that they only have one person hired who reviews these videos, 5 days a week. A billion-dollar company does not want to hire more people reviewing flagged content just so they could save more money, despite the fact that on a website, especially one on the scale of Pornhub, moderation should be crucial. And we are already seeing the consequences. Last year, a 12-year-old boy from Alabama was taken advantage of by a 40-year-old man who is now luckily in jail. But 23 videos of the man's acts with the boy were published on Pornhub and monetized. Police actually got involved and demanded Pornhub to take those videos down, and yet they were simply ignored. And as of writing the script, The mother and son are still engaged in a federal lawsuit against Pornhub for refusing to take down the videos involving the boy. The claim that the porn industry cares about children and wants to protect them from explicit content is nothing more than complete and utter nonsense. Rather, it is in their interest to get children addicted to pornography early on, so they will continue to consume their content when they are older. They don't care even when it comes to child abuse, since even then they are profiting off of it. Pornography is completely corrupting the youth today. The number of children gaining access to pornography has only been skyrocketing, and they will do nothing more than sit back and relax as their content ruins the health of millions of children. And to top it all off, the parent company of Pornhub, MindGeek, has also been involved in human trafficking, if you thought this could not get worse. I want you to think about this. What good has the porn industry ever brought to human civilization? Anything positive for everyone in the long term? Exactly, absolutely nothing. It is actually the complete opposite. The porn industry is just going to make each and every generation worse than the last. They make humans think of intercourse as something more than just reproduction, twisting and developing disgusting new worldviews on sexual acts which are getting more and more common among people, as they are publicly embraced for everyone to see. They have contributed immensely to the mental health crisis due to their content being objectively linked to depression and lower life satisfaction, and probably worst of all, it is corrupting the youth by preying on their underdeveloped brains and just generally neglecting child safety. This is exactly what makes the porn industry one of, if not the, most evil industry in the entire world. While companies like Amazon, Apple, Google at least offer good service and something of worth, with the porn industry it is the complete opposite. The reason why porn is free in the first place is because you are paying with your soul, not with your money. And as long as the industry continues being worth so much money, it will never cease existing, as people are finding opportunities to ruin other people's lives and make them miserable just so they could swim in the green. The porn industry is nothing less than a parasite that is ruled by the power of money and money alone. But not all hope is lost. Their source of power comes through you, through the fact that you watch porn and are addicted to it. And if we wanna stand a chance, we are gonna need to change who we are and break free from this control of theirs. And I am in this fight as well. Just like many people, I have been exposed to this sort of degeneracy from a young age, an experience that I am still trying to recover from by battling these demons of mine to the best of my capability. Just wanted to let all of you know that you are not alone in this fight. Saying and admitting that you have a problem is nothing to be ashamed of. What you have to be ashamed of is saying that you can't do it and refuse to change. The notion that you actually can't change is completely false, and is just a way for the industry to keep you in its little web until you are no longer of use to them. There are hundreds and thousands of men and women, myself included, who are trying and fighting to be better than our previous selves, and changing society and the world around us always comes with changing who we are first.